Thanks, Chair. Can I ask whether the figures that you gave me in this document are up to date as of today? For example, is it 149 detainees that have been released?
149 remains current as of today, Senator.
Thank you. And the 6 who've breached their visa conditions, is that current?
Just looking at my team, I believe so.
I understand there was a 7th that might have breached their visa conditions. The AFP made a statement yesterday.
The figures that you have in front of you are 31 January 2024.
Yes, that's why I asked if
and
they're
the AFP
today.
took action late last week, Thursday or Friday.
Yeah, my question was, to rephrase, if I wasn't clear, is it up to date as of today?
No.
No. Okay. What is the accurate number for the number of people who breach visa conditions?
7.
Thank you. Of the 18 people who've been arrested for other offences by federal or state police, is that accurate as of today?
That figure is 31 January 2024.
Yep. Is it accurate as of today? It's 13 days since then.
We'll take that on notice.
Okay. I understand in response to a question by Senator Roberts, you weren't able to say how many, if any, of those 18 are in custody. Is that right?
Again, I need to take that on notice because we want to be sure that the states and territories our information is up to date, because somebody could be granted bail in a bail hearing very quickly. So,
to the best of your knowledge, what's the status of the 18?
Nothing's changed to the best of my knowledge, but I take it on notice.
And so, by nothing changed, you mean they're all in custody?
No, they've been charged. I think that's.
No, some. We could take it on notice, but my understanding is some are also subject to bail conditions in the community. Right.
So, at least some of the 18 offenders who had been released in the community but have been arrested by state and federal police are now in the community?
Of course, yes, absolutely. It would depend, of course, on the court process and the seriousness of those offences. If the offences were particularly serious, then the courts may decide to deny bail.
Sure.
In other cases, of course, the courts will grant bail.
Sure, but in the case of these people, it's going to be at least a second offence, if not greater offences, because the reason why they were in immigration detention in the first place is that they committed offence. So no matter how serious their latest offence is, we've got a pattern of behaviour, don't we?
I wouldn't presume. We'll come back to your notice, Senator. I wouldn't presume that the majority of these people have been remanded in custody. I don't think that's the case.
Yeah, well, that's my concern.
And we, of course, need to engage with the states and territories about what's happening with these court cases, and of course courts make decisions all the time about the grant of bail, revocation of bail, etc.
I know, but we just heard about the terrific cooperation with your state and territory counterparts that we had in response to questions from other senators previously. Shouldn't it be as part of that cooperation that you're aware of the status of these 18
We meet
people?
weekly, which is, I mean, it's a remarkable construct, but this is such a moving feast with state and territory investigations. I mean, the fact that somebody's been charged doesn't necessarily mean that they'll meet the court process, because the direct public prosecutions may decide to not proceed with those charges. There's a whole range of variables here, and so that weekly meeting is vital to keep us all up to date. But I'll take it on notice because I want to give you up-to-date information.
Well, why don't you tell me what was the status at the most recent weekly meeting? If there has been one for 5 or 6 days, what was the status there?
We'll take that on notice about the number, Senator. I don't have that to hand, and we don't.
Is there anyone in the room who knows? I mean, this is a pretty important question. 18 people who wouldn't otherwise be here if they were able to be deported because they had violated the character provisions of the Migration Act, have re-offended after they've been released by a High Court decision, and we don't know how many of them are in custody and how many of them are free in the community. Surely there is someone who knows.
We wouldn't necessarily know that, and we'll find out. But as I said to you, I wouldn't presume that the majority of them are remanded in custody.
Well, that's my concern. I fear you're right, and I think that's a problem, because these are people who have offended at least twice and shouldn't be in our country at all were it not for this High Court decision. And you can't change the High Court decision. I'm not putting that responsibility on you. But I would hope that someone at least knows where these people are.
Well, the state police know exactly where they are.
Well, aren't they reporting regularly
it's the state
as part of their
job,
visa conditions?
Senator, if I could just finish. It's the job of the state police, not our job, to prosecute these offences in the states and territories. We push information to each other to make sure that the community risks are being managed. And that process is working really well. The states and territories know exactly what visa conditions these people are under. They know exactly the people that we're interested in monitoring and observing, and they tell us when things change. But it doesn't mean to say that I keep a daily tabs on what the status of their investigations and prosecutions are. The weekly meeting obviously throws up issues of concern to us, but it doesn't necessarily provide a running commentary of each of their investigations and cases.
I would be more eager to share your confidence in how this is being managed if someone was able to say 7 of them are in custody and 11 of them are in the community, but we can't even say that.
Senator Patterson, I've heard Commissioner Outram a couple of times say that he'll take this on notice. The other point I'd make is that you're seeking to make a point of the fact that these people were still in detention and weren't dispatched anywhere. Of course, I would argue that it was the failure of your government to find resettlement arrangements for any of these people that meant that they were still in detention. So I think it's a bit rich to be trying to put all the responsibility on our government. And let's not forget that NZYQ, the case that went to the High Court, was a case in which the Leader of the Opposition personally intervened to grant the plaintiff a visa.
Yeah,
so if we want to get
Minister,
into where did this problem start?
Minister, we could even go back to when most of this cohort arrived. And of course you would know that most of them arrived under the previous Labor government, the Gillard
I'm aware that some did.
era, and that this is a historical caseload from that government's failure to manage the border.
And then they were in detention for
we can
10
keep going back
years
through history if you like.
in some cases without being resettled.
Minister, I don't think it reflects all that well on your party's management of this issue.
Senator Patterson, do you have a question?
I do.